Satish Manishinde tonight, a senior advocate from Mumbai, and Anil Tiwari is president of the Allahabad High Court Bar Association. He's been leading that battle against the Supreme Court collegium. Diljit Singh Ahluwalia is an advocate in the Supreme Court, and C. Rajashekaran is a senior advocate and president of the Voice of Tamil Nadu from Chennai. Satish, I want to start with you. This are strong words, but these words are also ringing very loud everywhere. It's just that Dhankhar has given voice to it. Especially the Supreme Court's observations in the case regarding the Tamil Nadu governor who had reserved 10 bills for consideration, where the Supreme Court said no exercise of power under the Constitution is beyond the pale of judicial review. But that is, the judiciary is accountable to none. So the judiciary is above parliament, above government, but accountable to none is the kind of situation we have right now that Dhankhar is talking about. What are your thoughts? You agree with Dhankhar?
Well, Vice President Dhankhar is a lawyer, senior lawyer himself. He has seen both the systems. And I think I wholly support Mr. Dhankhar. More so because, not because it has come from the Vice President of our country, but if you see the incidents that have taken place, first of all, judiciary is condemned all over. There are a few black sheep. Those few black sheep are increasing day by the day because the protection given by the Veeraswamy judgment and other pronouncement of the Supreme Court tell us that you can't register a case even when a person is caught red-handed with cash amounting to more than 15 crores in his bungalow. The person concerned said that the money was not his. So if the money was not his private secretary who was at the bungalow, how did entire evidence get erased? How come the scene of crime was tampered with? How come the police officers who were there to witness this crime were directed to leave the premises and to come the next day?
Questions, elements, phone.
They came. The entire evidence was wiped out. So this is a startling case which does not even need an inquiry. A criminal case ought to have been registered immediately. The Chief Justice of India had the power to do so. But unfortunately, he did not exercise his powers. He has recommended an inquiry by a committee of judges. And that committee has taken more than almost 3 weeks now. Nothing much has come out so far. I don't know when the report will come. But looking at what is happening in the country and looking at the way some of the judges are behaving, if you see the pronouncement of a few judges from the Allahabad High Court, particularly in rape cases, and in a Boxo's case, where one of the Bombay High Court judges unfortunately made a scathing and derogatory remark. We need time. We need a way to move forward.
No, but now what we see, so sorry to interrupt.
Country where judges are appointing judges.
Yeah, so what we are seeing now, viewers, my question is whether you agree with the views of Jagdeep Dhankhar.
I totally agree with the Vice President, and he is a learned lawyer. He has controlled a large number of things. He has been holding a large number of positions. He probably now had no option but to make this kind of a statement.
And many people feel also, because after all, we are a democracy, which means we are an elected democracy. There is a process of elections. Remember, viewers, judges are not elected. They are selected, and they select themselves. Now, if in a country, the Supreme Court starts working on the advice of the President of India starts working on the advice of the Supreme Court, what does that make the Supreme Court? Is that not disrespect to the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, to the President of India? The words of the Supreme Court, which are of great concern tonight, therefore, where the court directs the President of India what to do. In its recent judgment, the Supreme Court says the President is not just precluded but constitutionally expected to refer the question of virus of a bill to this court, which means the President of India should take the advice of the Supreme Court what to do. And the court further says, my God, the court further says that if the President of India fails, If the President of India fails to act on the advisory opinion of the Supreme Court under Article 143, the state has a right to return to the court and request a mandamus directing the President of India to act accordingly. My God. My God. This is wholly unexpected, which means now the Supreme Court, technically according to itself, can direct the President of India to grant assent to bills or not grant assent to bills. This will make the Supreme Court and not the President of India the final authority in legislative matters concerning states. Tomorrow they will say even Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Bharat Ratna will be decided by the Supreme Court, and if the government, if somebody is dissatisfied, they can come to the court and say this person should not be given a Padma Shri. There is no limit. This raises a serious constitutional crisis in the country. You are creating, Diljit, a binding obligation on the President of India to seek the Supreme Court's advice under Article 143.
So, Arnab,
What is this? I mean,
no,
this to any
I'll tell you
student
what
of
it
Indian
is.
democracy, what system are we operating in anymore? We don't know. And by the way, can you tell me what happened to that in-house inquiry against the
I'll
allegedly
tell you
corrupt judge?
both
That
the points.
inquiry will go on and on and on. जब तक उनका इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट का टेन्योर खत्म ना हो, उनको पीसफुल एग्जिट ना मिल जाए, लोग वो भूल ना जाए, रिपब्लिक बोलना बंद ना करे, तो अपने बारे में जब अपने गिरेबान में झांकने की कोशिश करती है, तब you are not accountable to anyone. मैं पूछ रहा हूं, before you ask the President of India what to do, can you tell me what happened to the in-house inquiry?
the first thing.
No, you used to tell me it will
the
be completed in a time-bound way. Has it been completed?
1 second. The judgment, which should be celebrated by everybody, wherein the Supreme Court has come forward and told the high-ranking officials of the country, the president as well as the governors, that you please follow the constitution, which is the supreme law. Are we trying to say that the president...
Are
is
you
the vice-
saying the president is a person with no power, no authority, no respect, no standing, and no mind of their own? How are you talking with such disrespect to the Supreme Court, to the President of India? The President of India, it is said that if the President does not act on the advice, the state comes back and asks the Honorable Court to issue a mandamus, which is a legal order forcing the hand of the President to act. You want to force President Draupadi Murmu.
No, one
You
second.
want to force President Draupadi Murmu and say, I respect you, but I can force you to do what I want.
Arnab, if the
Viewers, are you
person
comfortable with this
who a
views?
particular
Are you
thing,
comfortable
if
with
they're
this?
not going to do as per the mandate of the Constitution, the Supreme Court has every right to interpret the
Sir,
Constitution. in
do
a-
you remember, Mr. Diljit, under Article 74 of the Constitution of India, the President is only supposed to act on the advice of the Union Cabinet.
Oh yes,
This
it
is the central
first
thing to
that
our
the president
democracy.
is supposed to act. First thing is that the president as well as
Any
the government
request
is
for the
supposed to
Central
act.
Court's opinion under Article 143 must therefore come through the Cabinet of India.
And if the cabinet of India does not do it, then what happens?
Oh, now therefore, then I'll tell you, then let's dissolve democracy. क्या जरूरत है? Why do you need democracy?
No, then
Why
that's-
do you need an executive?
Have you?
Why
just
do you
because
need
it
an
is
executive?
a
Why do you
10
need a
bill
chief of
which has
army
been
staff? Why do you need a navy chief? Why do you need
No,
a
no.
president of India?
Let's not get into that.
There is
Let's
a
come on to
balancing
the
of
point in
powers.
which
You
the
don't want me to
Honorable
get
Vice
into that.
President-
What happened to the in-house inquiry? What happened to the in-house inquiry?
I will come to that.
What happened to the
Arnab,
in-house
we'll come to
inquiry
that.
under Justice
The
Yashwant?
trigger
What happened to the
today
in-house
is
inquiry?
The Honorable
What
Vice
happened to the
President
in-house
of India-
inquiry?
The Honorable
What
Vice
happened to
President
the
of India
in-house
outside
inquiry?
the Parliament
What
makes
happened to the in-house
derogatory
inquiry?
remarks with regard to the Supreme Court of India. I would go to the step of saying that this is nothing but contempt on the part of the Honorable Vice President of India. He
Contempt
does
of the
not
Vice
have
President.
privilege outside
The
the
contempt,
Parliament.
this Vice President speaking his mind amounts to contempt.
Of course it is. He's trying to say it is a nuclear missile. He's trying to say that the Supreme Court is not following the rule of
So
law.
there is a delicate
Supreme Court of
balance.
India is not following the rule of
There
law.
is a delicate balance, Diljit, between judicial activism and the balance between the judiciary and other constitutional authorities like the parliament and
Yes,
the president.
I agree with you.
This
Arnab, with
delicate
regard to
balance
that.
must
Now
be
look at this
respected by
case.
all.
No, look at this case
This is
where the
too much.
governor was sitting on the bills, 10 bills for 4 years. And then the Supreme Court first passes the Telangana governor observations, the please act. Thereafter, the Punjab governor case came up. They said, please act in a time-bound manner.
Is the Supreme
And
Court
just
the
to
super
circumvent
government
that,
or super
they
parliament?
The President of India.
चलो, what happened to the in-house inquiry? आप कह रहे हैं
Right.
आप हम responsible है, बाकी irresponsible है, तो ये बताइए वो responsibility अपने दायरे में, जब आपकी जब ये corruption का केस हुआ, एक मिनट मान्यवर एक मिनट रुक जाइए, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि ये सब बढ़िया है, कहने को कि see, eventually we have to uphold the values of the constitution. Fine, now, okay. Now, but what happened to the in-house inquiry?
Yes, you will
What
get to
happened?
know then when the inquiry report is tabled.
When? When? Kab?
Happen, Arnab.
Kab?
There are some procedures. They are carrying
Procedures.
some
But when the
procedures.
governor sits, it takes time.
Somebody is saying
1
5
minute.
crores,
Now I'll tell you why I was
crores.
asking the question. When the governor
Yeah.
is taking time to pass the bill, you are saying very wrong. Come back to me.
4 years.
I will issue
4
directions to the
years.
president.
And-
But
and
when you are
Arnab-
taking time, when you are taking time and time and time and weeks and
Arnab,
weeks and days and days
it
and days,
happens- it
you are taking
happens
all the
only
time in the
after
world
these rules
to carry out the invoice inquiry. And I'm asking you. You are saying,
The governor
don't
is
ask me a
acting-
question.
The governor is sitting on the bills only in
So why is the
opposition
in-house
rules
inquiry
state.
sitting on the
4
in-house
years.
inquiry's procedures?
4 years.
Why is the in-house inquiry waiting for the honorable judge's retirement?
Absolutely not.
But now your tone changes. I've got Anil
No, it
Tiwari
does not.
on this
It
ongoing
does not
debate.
change.
Anil, what do you
It
think?
does not change at all.
Anil, what do you
I'm
think?
very sorry. There is a rule.
अर्नब जी मैं
What
बड़ी
honorable
क्लैरिटी
Vice
से
President
दलजीत जी
said,
से कहना चाहूंगा
why not a FIR? Why not an FIR? He's posing a question. Has the government made that recommendation to the president? The government had it in its power to recommend to the president to seek directions from the Chief Justice of India. Chief Justice has already instituted an inquiry. The result of the inquiry, the report of the inquiry is awaited. We are wanting to jump the gun and thereafter ask
Waited.
questions.
How long do I wait? I have no gun to jump. Now I'm asking Anil to respond to you because we're in a situation. I'm worried that if the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, is to be bound by the views of the Supreme Court, advice of the Supreme Court, my view is she should be bound by the advice of the cabinet. But you're
that is the
changing
correct
that.
position.
Anil
That is
Tiwari.
the correct position. Let me explain. Daljit ji is slightly confused. I'm sorry, Daljit ji. I'm not using any derogative remarks, but just सिचुएशन को समझने की कोशिश करिए. कॉज मैं लॉ की बात करता हूं जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अब तक होल्ड किया, मैं उसकी बात करता हूं. विल ऑफ द पीपल को अपहोल्ड करने की बात इस जजमेंट में कही गई.
बिल्कुल.
विल ऑफ पीपल जो है वो इस बिल में है, इसलिए बिल को ज्यादा दिन रुकना ठीक नहीं है. यही बात तो आ रही है विल ऑफ पीपल की. विल ऑफ पीपल ने एनजेसी पास किया था, तो आपने अब विल ऑफ पीपल ने एनजेसी, जब एनजेसी आया तो आपने एनजेसी खत्म कर दिया. वहां विल ऑफ पीपल नहीं दिखाई दिया. विल ऑफ पीपल क्या है? विल ऑफ पीपल है इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट. मेरा आपको याद होगा यशवंत वर्मा ने प्रकरण में मैंने बड़ा क्लैरिटी से कहा था कि गवर्नमेंट से मुझे अपील मैं कर रहा हूं कि गवर्नमेंट इसको देखे, वरना एक दिन वो आएगा कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट के एक जजमेंट से इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट टॉपल हो जाएगी एंड दे विल रूल द कंट्री. आज धनखड़ जी ने जो कहा है, क्यों कहा? मैं 15 दिन से चिल्ला रहा था, लेकिन 15 दिन से डिबेट हो रही है गवर्नमेंट्स में, लेकिन इतना क्लैरिटी से आज जब उनके ऊपर पड़ी है तो उन्हें मेरी बात सही लगने लगी. आज प्रेसिडेंट को डायरेक्शन है, कल ये एक जजमेंट आएगा कि दिस इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट हैविंग 75% मेजॉरिटी ऑफ वोट्स, हैविंग मेजॉरिटी इन द पार्लियामेंट, is illegal government, unconstitutional because it is touching the judiciary. Therefore, government is ruled.
Now every law, also a pattern. Every law is challenged in Supreme Court. Abrogation of Article 370 challenged in Supreme Court till 2023. 1 minute. Goes on from 2019 to 2023. NJSC challenged in Supreme Court. Citizenship Amendment Act challenged in Supreme Court. Aadhaar scheme, so important, challenged in Supreme Court. Farm laws repealed by the centre also had to face legal challenges. Appointment of Chief Election Commissioner challenged in Supreme Court. Now, somebody somewhere, a voter of India will think, who is the elected government? What is the elected government doing? If the view is of suspicion, Rajshekharan, that everything the elected government is doing is wrong, it compelled a situation where Chandrachud said he cannot be expected to perform the duties of the opposition. The Supreme Court is not the opposition of the country. If there is no good opposition, if Rahul Gandhi is the leader, so be it. But it doesn't mean that it gets into the area of judicial transgression. Yes, please, Rajshekharan.
Arnab, we are in a democracy, as you rightly
Thank you
said.
for reminding me.
Thank
you.
As you rightly said, what is the job of the Supreme Court? You want the Supreme Court just to be mute spectator sitting there in Delhi in the Honorable Supreme Court.
I want
building
the Supreme
and
Court to
just,
tell me the results of the
watching
in-house
everything.
inquiry of corruption
When
against
something goes
Judge
wrong,
Yashwant. I
when
want the
something
results
is
of that committee.
unconstitutional, Please allow me, something goes wrong in a democracy. When something is unconstitutional,
Anishinde.
it's the job of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Supreme Court with its wisdom, has to immediately come in.
Then why was Judge Verma transferred instead of suspended? If the judiciary will not investigate its own, but force the hand of the president.
Comments on in
Satish Manishinde. No, we are talking about the primacy of the executive.
Supreme Court.
If the parliament or the government goes wrong, the judiciary is stepping in.
One minute.
Judiciary is
Rajshekharan.
going wrong. Judiciary has gone wrong in the first place. That you don't take action against a person who is caught red-handed immediately. You give him more than a month's time. Evidence has been erased. We don't know where those destroyed notes are. We don't know where that evidence has disappeared. Nothing has come before. So recording statements of police officers who were present there could have been done by an inspector of police. So that is one. Secondly, you transfer the judge back to his court from where he was transferred. He was originally in Allahabad High Court. He was transferred on administrative grounds to the Delhi High Court. What are the administrative reasons? We can understand what could have happened. And that gentleman, he comes to Delhi, and the first thing that you know about him is that he is found with 15 lakhs cash in his bungalow. You transfer him back to Allahabad High Court, give him a government bungalow, give him a salary, and treat him. If the same person was either in the cabinet or in the government service, he would have been suspended and arrested forthwith. Secondly, some other judges are transferred to other high courts. They all protest. In spite of that, they are transferred there. What is the reason? And that particular judge who was transferred, he had listed a large number of cases before him, which had not been parted in the Delhi High Court.
Absolutely.
After protest from the lawyers, all this action was taken. So you know how the judiciary is functioning. So stop selecting judges. Let judges not select judges. Let that power be given to the parliament or the government by a constituted committee where judges as well as other people are involved, so that there can be action taken.
Well, I don't know why judges should be held to a lower standard than the people they judge.
Supreme Court judge in the selection.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think the judiciary should begin to look at what it's doing. This is making the people of India very concerned, very concerned. And Republic is nothing but the voice of the people, Vox Populi, the voice of the people. At 9 p.m. tonight, the biggest startup debate, ladies and gentlemen. The scandal, would I call it the scam? But this Shark Tank culture, a lot of money, valuations, Lamborghinis, high lifestyle, ripped jeans, ulta topis. This is not entrepreneurship. And the people who are doing it are creating scam after scam in the startup world. When I'm back.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.